Bienvenue dans podcast La Vie.
Peace to the world. Welcome to the Life Podcast. Of course, this is your host CJ. It's been a minute. I've been kind of having other endeavors, a part of the Life Network that I've been trying to get together. So, I ran across the movie, Just Mercy. That's the movie with Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Foxx, right? They had did a movie in regards to it's a real based on true events, based on a true story where Jamie Foxx had played a man who was on death row. And supposedly what had happened was the story or the crime, right, that this man had committed that Jamie Foxx was playing, he was basically framed. And so Michael B. Jordan was his lawyer and, worked it out. Boom, boom, boom. Long story short, right? I don't know if you're into spoilers, move forward if you're not. But the spoiler is, right, he is eventually set free, right? There was a wrongful testimony that was committed against this character that Jamie Foxx was playing. Sorry, I forgot the name. But again, it was based on true events. So, it was just highly emotional. You know what I mean? The movie was it was intense in a emotional capacity to where like, one of the scenes was, somebody had got they name pulled, which basically means like your time was up. Like your date was there. So, I think this was in the state of Alabama. And this was like back then. You know what I'm saying? This wasn't 2024. This movie was based in close to like Jim Crow area, that kind of, I can't remember exactly what year, but you know what I'm saying. Like Alabama today is pretty bad when it comes to racism. So imagine even back then. But like I said, this guy's name got pulled, like his card got pulled, and he had a date. So there was a scene where like he was saying goodbye. Like this man was going in the electric chair. And they there was just that. They electrocuted him. Um And so it at the end of the movie, it has show some stats, and I think it says something along the lines of like 1 out of 9 um death row inmates actually end up being found innocent of their crimes. 1 out of 9 is a great amount. That's over 10%, right? And those are just the cases that were studied. So if you study it even more, say all the cases were studied, that number would definitely shrink down. So it might even go to like 1 out of 7 or even 1 out of 6. Now, if you look particularly on the black death row inmates, that number could reach up to, who knows, maybe 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5, 20 to 25%. But that's what I wanted to get into more because we already know the incarceration system, we already know the legal system, right? The court system is already biased. We know that the system does not support black men, and they put plenty of black men, innocent black men as well, in jail, right? We talking this is by the thousands and tens of thousands and potentially hundreds of thousands when you look at it from a um from a nationwide point of view. So we go do that right now. We go look into some of the numbers. Let's get into it. So here's the source that I'm very familiar that I've looked on before. It's called the Death Penalty Information Center. So I've looked on this website before, I think back in like 2019, but I thought it was a brilliant source. And like I said, this movie Just Mercy drew me back to this website just to see, like, what I'm saying, what the standings are today and what they look like 5 years later. So here we are, right? This is pretty much just in a nutshell. I'm gonna Now, if you can see at that bottom, it says state by state. We go look at all the states. I can't go through all the states. I don't have time to go through 50 different states, but you'll get a chance to stop the video, pause it, and see which state you're in and what your state is currently doing with death row inmates and just how you know what the disparity level is at in terms of race. So boom, as you can see, right, by race, black people make up 41%, of the death row inmates in the United States of America. But you have to keep in mind, at the most, we're only 15% of the population in this country. So we're almost 3 times more likely to get put on death row. As you can see, white folks, uh, last time I checked, white folk population, non-Hispanic, is just around like 60%. You know what I'm saying? Just around that percentage, but they only make up 42% of the death row inmates. I'm not like preaching for this. I'm not saying it's good or bad to be on death row or whatever. I'm just giving y'all percentages and showing you what the disparity levels look like. You dig what I'm saying? So put it like this, no other ethnic group, right? No other race in the United States of America is disproportionately represented in the death row population other than black folks. We're the only ones that are far beyond disproportionately represented amongst death row inmates. So it really just goes to show, this country will go all the way to the extent of murder, right? Genocide, and it's still continuing today, right? This source is from, I believe, 2023. So yeah, here we are. It's 2023, right? As of January 1st, 2023. So it's very recent and it's very relevant. So if you could see in California, right? California obviously is one of, I think, the largest state in terms of population. We have the most death row inmates, pretty much almost as expected. 665 death row inmates currently, approximately today in California. Out of that, 232 of those are black inmates. So 232 out of 665 death row inmates are black. And you keep going, you see that at the white column, 220, right? And then you see ultimately the Latinx community, 177. Now this is California, so let's get one thing straight, right? The Latinx community in California, if I'm not mistaken, is just around 50%. So they are not proportionally populated in as far as being death row inmates, right? So that's kudos to them, good for them. Now when you look at the white population, right? 220. There's less white people on death row in California than there are black. But the last time I checked, the white population, non-Hispanic, in California is just around like that 35% range. But yet, black people with this 232, remember, we only make up about 5% of California. So when you do the math and you divide 232 divided by 665, you should get just around 35%. We are 7 times more likely basically to be locked up in not just locked up, but be put to death. I should have stressed that from the very beginning, but that's what we're talking about here. We're not just talking about regular inmates, we're talking about death row population. These numbers you see here, it's not just regular number. These people are listed and projected to be put to death. They will die. After I just had mentioned that the movie had said that about 1 out of 9, right, are essentially innocent, right? And those are just the ones that are studied. So I mean, I'll pull up a calculator right now. Let's do the math, right? So I did some math real quick, right? And then I determined that, okay, out of all the California death row inmates, if we kept that statistic where 1 out of 9 is innocent, right? We looking at just around 73 out of the 665, 73 of these people are innocent, but yet will be put to death. They will be put to death. And we already know how it goes when it comes to the black population. We're usually framed more than any other ethnic group. In fact, the movie Just Mercy, there was, out of the 3 cases that were really like observed, the 3 inmates that were basically the main characters, 2 of them were let go because they were truly innocent. So that's where I was trying to tell you when it comes to the black population, it's more than 1 out of 9 that's innocent. Like I would bet my bottom dollar it's probably 1 out of 5. You get what I'm saying? So just to like, okay, let's keep that same 1 out of 9. If we observe the black population out of this 232, without question, 25 of those people, 25 of these people are innocent. And I can almost assure you, it's probably like 50 of these people, bro, where they are potentially and projected to be innocent. So that's just something that to really keep in mind, man. This death row situation is it's crazy because I used to be for it. But I used to be like, hey, like eye for an eye, and that kind of thing. But when you put when you calculate, I guess I should say, when you calculate certain things and then you attribute certain circumstances within the legal system and within the court system, the police departments, it's like, yo, this is putting people to death. You have to be absolute sure that they committed the crime. It's to an extent where sometimes a confession or a eyewitness, as they might call it, might not even be enough these days because there was quote unquote eyewitnesses in the movie that said that the man did it. But then decades later, you know what I'm saying, they go to trial again, and that same man that said that he saw someone murder this person ends up coming back decades later. It's like, oh, I lied about it. I was pressured into it by, police generals and chiefs and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. So that's just something to put into context, man. And I don't know. I mean, if you pause the video already, right, you can see in some of these more racist states, black people are disproportionately made up. They make up the death row inmates. You know what I'm saying? Alabama. I mean, almost anywhere you look, and especially in the South, they're gonna be disproportionately represented. Arkansas, Florida, Georgia. Let's see if we can go down. Louisiana is not doing good at all. I mean, Louisiana is just blatantly letting you know right down here. Out of 63, 42 of them are black folks. So we're getting close to like 66%. But 66% of Louisiana is not black people. So they're really showing you what's good. Obviously, Mississippi, almost 66% again. So, here's the time where if you want, you can pause the video. Let me see if I can go down. So if you haven't seen your state yet, I mean, here's the bottom half of it. You're more than welcome to pause it. Like I said, I can't go through all of these. It doesn't look like Oregon practices the death row punishment. New Hampshire. New Hampshire only has one death row inmate, and that person just so happens to be black. Ironic. Isn't that our country? Isn't that what our country does? Right? Out of the total that you saw, at the very beginning, I think it was just around over 2,300 and something death row inmates. Over 2,000 people are projected and planned to be put to death. 1 out of 9 of those are easily innocent. And then you might have a couple more if you look into the cases, right? That might have a higher percentage of innocent folks, especially black inmates. So, it's just a situation where I don't necessarily support it anymore. I think it needs to be concrete. And I think you need to be very sure before you actually put someone to death. It's an insane thing to think about. Um, but I think the nation average was around 41%, 41% um of the death row inmates in this country are black. Yet again, we only make up 15% of the nation. And California wasn't really doing any much better, where we only make up 5% of the state. But yet, because we make up 5% of the state, right, this amounts to 35% of death row inmates in California, right? are on death row. We make up 35% of the death row inmates in California. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's just some food for thought, man. That's a golden nugget that I want to give y'all today. Stay tuned for a lot of different things coming up. We do have the 5 components of an intimate relationship. That's going to be coming up soon. Really want y'all to watch that. Be on the lookout for that. We're going to be advertising that. Hopefully, I can get it out. We'll see. I'm not going to name any dates. I don't want to put any pressure on myself, but we'll be having that out soon. So just be on the lookout. Continue to follow social medias. Continue to share, like, subscribe, man. Just get in tune with the Life Network because we really want to take it up a notch. You feel me? So, with that said, peace to you.